In this video, we're going to be writing the equation of a line that passes through 2 points. And so there's some important things we need to kind of remember here. So we're going to kind of give ourselves a little bit of room. And the first thing is slope. So the equation for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then the other thing we want to remember, since we're going to write the equations of these lines, we're going to write them in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So we need to kind of keep that in mind. So with that, let's go ahead and let's do letter A, and let's see how that's all going to kind of work out. So we're going to begin by labeling our points. This is our x1 because it's the first x. This is our y1 because it's the first y. This is our second x because it's the second x. And this is our second y because it's the second y. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find our slope. So our slope is going to be the y2 minus our y1 divided by our x2 minus our x1. So we're going to work that out. We're going to get a negative 6 over 3, which is a negative 2. So now we have our slope. But now it's like, okay, well, how do I know what my y-intercept is? So there's a couple things that we can do. We can either calculate it, or we can look at the points and see if it gives it to us. Because remember that our y-intercept crosses the y-axis, which means it has an x value of 0. So if we look at what we were given here, we actually see that because we have this 0, 1, right, 0, 1 right there, that actually tells us that our y-intercept is negative 1. Right, so our b value is negative 1. So because of the 0 here, that's what allows us to say that negative 1 is the y-intercept. And so since we have now our m and we have our b value, we can plug that into slope-intercept form. Y equals m x, and then our b is a negative, so minus 1. And there's nothing to simplify, so we're finished. Let's take a look at letter B. So we'll first start off by labeling. So here's our x1 and our y1 and our x2 and our y2. And looking at that, I see something really similar to what we just had. Like I see a 0 right there. So that tells me, so because this is a 0, that tells me that this is my b. That is my y-intercept. So now I just need to calculate my slope. So we're going to have negative 5 minus negative 5 divided by 8 minus 0. And so here we have that minus a negative, so it's kind of like a plus, right? So we're going to have 0 over 8, which is a 0. So now we can plug this into our slope-intercept form. So y equals mx, and we have a negative 5 for our b. And 0 times x is 0, so we can actually just rewrite this as y equals negative 5. And we're done. So if it gives you your y-intercept as a point, you can still use that as your b value. It makes it kind of a fast equation to write. Let's take a look at letter C. I want you to try this one on your own. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and point out first, though, that right there we've got a 0. So think about what that tells you, right? So go ahead and work out this problem. Push pause. When you're done, push play, and let's see if you were right. All right, so here we see that we have a 0. So that tells us that our negative 7 is going to be our b value. So we can go ahead and we can label our points, and we can calculate our slope. So here our slope is going to equal negative 7 minus 1 divided by 0 minus, oops, try that again, minus 2. And so that is going to give us a value of negative 8 over negative 2, which is 4. So we have y equals m, which is 4, times x, and then our b value is a negative, so negative 7. And we're done. Let's go ahead and try this next one. So I'm going to have you try this one again on your own. I'm not going to point anything out. See if you can see it yourself. So go ahead and push pause, and then when you're done, push play, and let's see if you were right. So here I notice that I have a 0 in the x spot, which tells me that this value is my b value. And so now I'm ready to find my slope. So I can calculate my slope by using my slope equation. And so I'm going to have my y2 minus my y1 value, and divide that by my x2 minus my x1 value. And when I calculate that, I'm going to get a 1 over 4. So I can go y equals, and I've got my m, which is 1 over 4, so there's my slope, times x, and then plus b, and b is a positive, so it's going to be a plus 2, and I'm finished. Let's try one more, just one more. So here we have 0, negative 5, and negative 4, and negative 1. We have a 0 in our x value, so that tells us that this is the y-intercept. We can label our points. Then we calculate our slopes. And I have a negative 1 minus a negative 5. I've got that double negative thing happening, right? Which is kind of like a plus. And so that's going to give me a 4 over negative 4, which is a negative 1. So y equals negative 1 times x, and our b is a negative, so minus 5. And I could leave it like this, but I should really simplify it, because negative 1 times x is negative x. So this should really be y equals negative x minus 5. And that's my solution. So be on the lookout, because if it's going to go ahead and it's going to give you the y-intercept as a point, there's not a lot of calculations you have to do. You just got to calculate the slope, because it already gave you your y-intercept.